The woman from the resort villa stopped me by the pool, then whispered, "They're watching from the ridge." Part 1. The midday sun hit the imported limestone around the infinity pool so hard the entire deck looked white hot. I kept my eyes on the reflection in the tempered glass of Cabana 4, not on the glare. The reflection showed me everything I needed: an irritated guest in a wrinkled linen suit, a junior server holding a tray of sparkling water, the server's knuckles tightening around the tray, and the guest leaning forward with the kind of expression that turned a peaceful pool deck into a public scene. The ice in the crystal glasses clicked softly under the steady crash of waves below the cliffs. That sound told me the server was nervous. The guest opened his mouth. I stepped smoothly into the gap before his voice could rise. "Mr. Harlan," I said, offering the practiced smile of a man who had spent years making expensive problems vanish before they reached other people. "I've arranged a terrace suite on the leeward side of the property. Quieter, private balcony, and the same view without the wind." He blinked. The anger slid from his shoulders as he accepted the new key card. That was my job. Not just hospitality, friction removal. I made the real world disappear before it reached people paying $5,000 a night to pretend it did not exist. Mr. Harlan left. The junior server exhaled. I gave him a small nod and adjusted the cuff of my navy suit jacket. That was when I saw Claire Morgan. She sat in the shade of Cabana 4, perfectly still. Too still. She was not relaxing. Her posture was locked, both hands resting on a closed silver laptop. She wore a tailored blouse under a light blazer, corporate and wrong for poolside heat. A folded restructuring packet sat beside her water glass. Her attention was fixed on a man standing just outside the shade line. I recognized him immediately. Vance? Financial blog stringer, aggressive, opportunistic, not a guest. His face was on the private watch list at the front desk. Yet there he stood with a DSLR camera in his hand, the lens angled toward Claire. "Ms. Morgan," Vance said, his voice oily enough to carry across the pool. "Quick comment on the Q3 restructuring leak? Is Marcus rallying the executive board to push you out by Friday?" Claire closed her laptop with one clean snap. "This is a private resort. Mr. Vance, you are trespassing. And you're a public figure hiding behind a spa package while your company burns." He lifted the camera 1 inch. I did not run. "Running causes panic." I simply arrived. I placed myself between the camera and Claire, turning my back to her and facing Vance with a smile that had locked doors behind it. "Sir," I said, "commercial photography is not permitted on this property without press clearance. Security is waiting at the front gate to assist with your departure." Vance's mouth opened. Then he saw my security lead crossing the pool deck behind him. The camera lowered. "This is a public interest story," he muttered. "Then you may pursue it from public property." He turned and walked away past the imported palms, escorted by security without a scene. Only when Vance was fully out of sight did I turn back. Claire stood now, the folded restructuring packet locked in one hand, her eyes cut toward the ridge across the bay, then back toward the path Vance had taken. "They're watching from the ridge," she whispered. I followed her gaze. Across the water, beyond the resort line, a public overlook sat on the cliffs. A long lens there could frame almost anything on the pool deck. "Marcus sent more than Vance?" I asked. She nodded once. "Telephoto lenses. At least 2. If I walk back to the villas alone, they frame it as panic. If I leave the resort, Marcus turns it into a resignation story before my board call. I need a controlled route and a secure room to answer the leak." That was enough. Claire needed a controlled room. Marcus wanted a no-confidence vote, and I was responsible for this property's security. "Stay on my right," I said. "Do not look toward the ridge. We are conducting a sight walk." Her fingers tightened around the packet, then steadied. "Understood." I spoke into my radio. "Elena, initiate South Path Privacy Protocol. No public lobby. Service corridor access to Villa 7. Security sweep on ridge-facing exposures." My sister's voice came through immediately. "Copy. Moving staff now." I kept the professional distance of a guide as we walked past the spa garden and through a staff-only door hidden behind bougainvillea. The temperature dropped as soon as we entered the service corridor. Cool concrete, low ceiling, hidden ventilation. The pool noise vanished. Claire did not speak until we reached the mahogany door of Villa 7, the most secluded suite on the property. She swiped her black VIP card. The lock clicked green. Inside, the villa was quiet, sunlit, and secure. Claire placed her laptop bag and restructuring packet on the marble entry table, her hand flattened over the papers. "Marcus was my former partner," she said. "He leaked doctored internal restructuring documents to force a vote of no confidence. The board meets in 2 weeks, but he is trying to bleed my credibility before I step into the room." I stayed near the door, hands loose at my sides. "He sent Vance to make you look cornered. He sent Vance to make me look like I was hiding. If the press gets one image of me rushing through the resort alone, Marcus sells the narrative by dinner. If I leave, airport cameras and roadside photographers turn it into a resignation story. This resort is the only place I can control the room, the network, and the line of sight." "Then you don't leave," I said. "You answer from here." Her eyes lifted. I removed a small black hotspot from my jacket pocket and set it on the glass coffee table. Private encrypted cellular network. It bypasses resort Wi-Fi. Use it for board communications, council, and your finance team. She stared at the device. "You carry that in your suit?" "I carry solutions." For the first time, the hard line of her mouth softened by 1 degree. "I need a conference line that doesn't route through a standard switchboard," she said, "and no one with a camera or recording device near this villa." "You'll have both. My sister Elena is head concierge. She will personally handle your room service, laundry, and deliveries. No standard housekeeping, no outside staff. Security will keep the South Ridge under observation from our side of the property." Claire turned toward the ocean-facing windows. "I don't need babysitting, Nathan. I need the perimeter held so I can work. I am a hotelier, not a babysitter." I said, "But you checked in yesterday and have not ordered a meal. You're trying to fight a corporate war with no fuel and a public Wi-Fi password. I have no time for lunch. Then I will have something sent in 20 minutes. Lean protein, rice, vegetables, black coffee. That is very specific. Crisis logistics usually are—" A faint smile appeared and vanished. I stepped toward the door. "Work. I'll secure the room." "Nathan." I stopped. She was standing beside the marble table, one hand on her laptop, the other on the folded packet. "Thank you for treating this like evidence instead of drama. The ridge is real," I said. "Vance was real. The leak is real. We handle real things with systems." Then I left her to work. Part 2. While Claire locked herself inside Villa 7 with audited reports, leaked headlines, and the private hotspot humming beside her laptop, I went back into the hidden arteries of the resort and started turning valves nobody else would notice. I pulled up the ridge feeds. The overlook was public, so I could not remove anyone from it. I could document. 2 men stood near the rail with long lenses. I saved the clips and sent them to our legal liaison. Then I called landscaping. "Temporary privacy screens along the south path," I said. "Use the living bamboo partitions from last month's wedding. Make it look like a maintenance refresh, not an emergency." I called IT. "Segment Villa 7's traffic from the main resort network. No device discovery, no shared printer access. Run a sweep for unusual traffic from the public lobby terminals." Then I called Elena. She arrived at the security office 3 minutes later, hair pinned tight, tablet in hand, and expression already sharpened for war. Elena Parker had run the concierge desk for 6 years and noticed everything. "Claire Morgan?" she asked. "Villa 7. You and I are the only non-security staff crossing that threshold. Meals, coffee, printed documents, laundry, deliveries. No housekeeping? None. Flowers? No. Spa? No. Guests always ask for spa. Not this one." Elena studied me for half a second. "How bad?" "Corporate takedown, press ridge, leaked restructuring packet, former partner named Marcus trying to force a board vote." Her eyes moved to the ridge feed. "So she needs quiet. She needs quiet that looks ordinary." Elena nodded. "I'll reroute all standard service patterns. If anyone asks, We're testing a privacy package for high-profile guests. That will work? It will sound expensive enough to be boring. That was why Elena was the best concierge in California. By late afternoon, the resort had reorganized around Claire without appearing to move. On the ridge, the cameras saw bamboo screens, shadows, and gardeners pushing carts of clipped leaves. At 7 o'clock exactly, I knocked twice on Villa 7's door, a routine she could identify. Claire opened the door with her phone tucked under one arm and 3 legal pads spread behind her on the dining table. Her blazer was folded neatly over a chair. Her sleeves were pushed to her wrists. A blue highlighter rested behind one ear. "Dinner," I said. "I didn't order dinner. That is why I brought it." Her mouth tightened, but she stepped aside. The villa smelled of coffee, printer toner, and ocean air from a cracked window. The slide on her monitor showed 2 columns, Marcus leak and actual numbers. She was building a counterattack. I set the tray near the far end of the table, clear of documents, chicken, rice, greens, fruit, black coffee, and ginger tea Elena had added without asking. Claire looked at the tea. "My sister," I said, "she profiles guests from beverage choices. She profiles everyone from everything. That is unsettling. It is also why we never lose luggage." A micro smile shifted at the corner of Claire's mouth. Gone quickly, but useful anyway. I checked the hotspot, window locks, drapes, and service corridor door. I did not comment on the legal pads until she did. "Marcus clipped the packet to remove the context," she said, pointing to the screen. "He leaked a scenario model as if it were an approved decision." "How much of a difference?" "The real packet gives 3 options: domestic consolidation, partial automation, and international outsourcing as a worst-case scenario. Marcus leaked only the worst-case page and framed it as signed policy." "Can you prove the full packet existed before the leak?" "Yes," she tapped a folder. "Version history, board distribution timestamps, independent audit notes." "Good. You sound like my counsel." "Your counsel is probably expensive." "She is." "Then I accept the compliment." This time, she almost laughed. The phone on the table lit up. "Marcus." Claire's face changed immediately. Not fear, focus. "Do you answer?" I asked. "No." She turned the phone face down. "He wants a reaction. He needs me angry." "Correct. You say that like a man who has dealt with many angry guests. Last week, a venture capitalist threatened to sue us because his outdoor meditation session included birds." A real laugh broke through, quick and bright, then faded into the quiet of the villa. She picked up the fork. I did not sit. My role was structure, not company. At the door, she spoke again. "Nathan." I turned. "Will the ridge cameras see me if I use the balcony?" "Yes." "Then I won't." That sentence mattered. The first time she had asked for help, she'd been reacting. Now she was using the perimeter. "Good call," I said. She lifted the fork like a small flag. Crisis logistics. I left her with dinner, secure light, and a room that held... Part 3. For 3 days, Villa 7 became the quiet center of a very loud war. Outside, the resort continued to perform serenity. Couples drank cucumber water by the pool. Wellness coaches guided sunrise breathwork on the lawn. Valets moved luxury cars under palm shade. Guests complained about pillow firmness, dinner reservations, ocean wind, and the exact shade of chilled rosé. I solved all of it. Then I checked the South Ridge. Then I checked Villa 7. Then I solved the next thing. Every evening at 7, I brought dinner myself. Claire was always at the table with printouts, legal pads, and 2 monitors. On the 4th night, I brought sea bass, wild rice, asparagus, and black coffee. She did not look up. "Leave it. I can review the operating margins while I eat." I set the plate beside her keyboard and remained standing. "The margins will survive 20 minutes. Her eyes lifted. "Nathan." "Claire." "I am on a deadline." "I know. Marcus is calling undecided board members tonight." "I know that too." "Then why are you blocking my work?" "Because if you walk into tomorrow morning's defense call on coffee and adrenaline, Marcus wins without needing better numbers." She stared at me across the table. I gently closed the secondary monitor, not the primary, a compromise. "Eat the fish," I said. She looked offended for exactly 3 seconds. Then she picked up the fork. The room quieted around silverware and waves. She took one bite, then another, and the frantic speed in her shoulders settled. My own stomach tightened when the warm food reached me. I'd been moving since dawn on espresso and a protein bar. Claire noticed before I could hide it. "You haven't eaten," she said. "I ate earlier." "When?" I reached into my pocket, removed the crushed protein bar, and opened the foil. Her fork paused. "That is not dinner. It has a label. It has regret." That surprised a laugh out of me. Only a short one, but it changed the air. She pushed the side plate toward me. "Take the rice. I'm staff. You are a human being with blood sugar." I looked at the plate, then at her. It was not flirtation. It was a woman under siege making one corner of the room humane again. I took 2 bites of rice. She returned to her fish. No speech followed, just food, work, and the ocean beating steadily against stone. After dinner, she turned the primary monitor toward me. "Look at this." The slide showed severance projections, labor relocation costs, and automation numbers. I understood hotel margins, not tech manufacturing, but I understood structure. What am I seeing? The missing paragraph. She said, "Marcus leaked the model that makes me look like I approved offshore cuts, but the complete model shows the opposite. Domestic consolidation costs more in the first 6 months, but protects the engineering team and stabilizes retention by Q2. So he leaked the option you rejected." "Exactly. How do you prove it?" "Board packet version history, audit firm comments, my CFO's approval notes, and this?" A time-stamped video call transcript appeared. "Counsel found the recording. Claire said, Marcus argued in favor of outsourcing 3 weeks ago, then leaked the same option under my name. Can you use it publicly?" "Not the full call. Confidential board session. But I can refer to the verified packet and let counsel handle discovery." "Enough to hold the room?" "If the feed stays clean, it will." She looked at me. "You say that like you can make the entire internet behave." "No, I can make one room harder to attack." "That may be enough." The phone lit up again. Marcus, then another call, unknown number. Claire watched them stack on the screen. Her hand moved toward the phone, then stopped before touching it. She placed both palms flat on the table instead. "Every time I don't answer, it feels like losing control." "You are not ignoring the war," I said. "You are choosing the battlefield." She repeated it under her breath, almost silently. "Choosing the battlefield." Then she turned the phone face down and moved to the next slide. That night, after I left Villa 7, I found Elena waiting outside the service corridor with 2 coffees and a garment bag over one arm. "What is that?" I asked. "Clean blazer from the boutique. Claire's jacket has balcony salt marks." She asked. "No, I saw it when I delivered the printer cartridges." "You notice everything." "It is my job and also my curse." She handed me a coffee. "You look terrible." "Thank you." "You are welcome." I took the cup. "I am fine." Elena gave me the flat look she had perfected around age 12. "You are running the entire resort, and a corporate crisis like sleep is optional." "It has been a busy week." "It has been a lonely decade." "You build perfect rooms for everyone else," she said. "You should sit down in one occasionally." I sat for 2 bites of rice. A historic breakthrough. I drank the coffee to avoid answering. "She is good, you know." "I know." "No. I mean good, not just impressive." She thanked staff by name. She sent the kitchen a note about the food. She asked whether the night printer noise would bother nearby guests before she used it. I looked down at my coffee. That sounded like Claire. Elena nudged the garment bag against my arm. "Take this to her at 5:30. "And Nathan?" "What?" "When this is over, do not hide behind the front desk so hard you forget you are allowed to be seen." Then she left me with coffee, a blazer, and an uncomfortable amount of truth. Part 4. At 5:30 the next morning, I knocked twice. Claire opened the door immediately, already awake, already dressed in a charcoal suit. Her hair was secured. Audited dossiers were stacked in both arms. I held up the garment bag. Elena noticed salt marks. Claire blinked, then took it with a quiet smile. Your sister may be the most terrifying person on this property. She hears that as praise. It is. As she changed jackets in the bedroom with the door fully closed, I checked my tablet. It confirmed the dedicated line. Security confirmed the ridge. Legal confirmed the participant list. Claire returned wearing the clean blazer. No salt, no wrinkles. Ready. We stepped into the service corridor together. Halfway to the executive boardroom, her steps stopped. Her breath caught once, and the papers shifted against her blazer. I stopped with her. Not closer, not touching. Claire, I said, the podium microphone is calibrated for a normal speaking voice. The camera angle is fixed. No surprise shots. Analysts are verified. The board is logged. You control the facts. I control the doors. Her fingers relaxed around the dossier. The corridor hummed softly around us. Facts, doors, she said. Exactly. The corner of her mouth moved. That should not be comforting. Yet here we are. She nodded. Then we go. The executive boardroom did not look like part of a resort. No ocean mural, no citrus candles, just a long walnut table, hardwired ports, acoustic panels, blackout shades, 2 cameras, and doors heavy enough to make interruption feel unwelcome. At exactly 8 a.m., the feed went live. Claire stepped to the podium. I stood at the rear by the oak doors with a tablet in one hand and an earpiece in place. Elena stood behind the glass wall of the control booth with IT headset on, coffee beside her, blazer sleeves pushed up as if she might physically fight the internet if necessary. Claire dismantled Marcus's leak with timestamps, audited margins, original email headers, server access records, and corrected projections. She showed where the leaked email had been cut. She showed the missing paragraph that turned risk scenario into confirmed loss. She showed the updated Q3 numbers, including growth Marcus had conveniently hidden. Ms. Morgan, are you saying the offshore cuts were never approved? I am saying they were modeled as a worst-case scenario and rejected in writing, Claire said. The complete packet shows that rejection and the cost of retaining domestic teams through the transition. A board member asked, why did the leaked email appear to carry your approval? Claire clicked to the next slide. Here's the original document. Here's the altered version. Here's the server timestamp showing the extracted page was modified after board distribution. No raised voice. No plea. Just fact after fact, placed with surgical patience. Then the attempted disruption hit. My tablet lit with traffic spikes. Here we go, Elena said in my earpiece. The chat flooded with hostile questions and fabricated quotes. One monitor stuttered. A second feed tried to open under a spoofed analyst ID. I tapped my earpiece. Block 7. Shift overflow to holding server. Lock chat to registered analysts only. Elena answered before IT could. Executing. 4 seconds later, the interference vanished. The feed stabilized. Claire saw the screen clear and kept going. By the end, the digital room had gone quiet, not confused, listening. My focus remains the long-term stability of this firm, she said. Manufactured panic will not replace audited data. The board vote proceeds as scheduled, and the individuals responsible will face legal discovery. Then she reached forward and ended the feed herself. One technician exhaled like he had been underwater. Claire stepped away from the podium, placed both palms flat on the table, and looked toward me. I gave her one nod. Not congratulations. Recognition. She had won the room herself. By market close, the stock had recovered most of the drop. The story shifted from Morgan's meltdown to Morgan challenges leak with audited records. The board issued an interim statement supporting her leadership. Marcus's allies went quiet in the way people go quiet when lawyers enter the room. At 6 o'clock, Claire asked to walk through the main lobby. Not the service corridor? I asked. No. Ridge cameras can still see the front drive. Good. I studied her. She picked up her leather folder. I hid because I needed a controlled room, she said. Now I need them to see I'm not running. Then we walked through the lobby. Not together like a shield. No. I walked 10 feet behind as the general manager. Professional distance? Exactly. She nodded once. We took the public elevator. When the doors opened, the lobby turned subtly toward her. Staff noticed first, then guests, then two men near the bar who were pretending not to be press. Claire did not rush. She crossed the polished floor with a measured pace and level chin. At the front desk, Elena looked up with a smile that almost passed for ordinary hospitality. Good evening, Ms. Morgan. Your car's waiting whenever you need it. Thank you, Elena. Not yet. Claire walked to the lobby bar, ordered sparkling water, and stood by the window, upright and composed. 10 feet behind, I discussed floral arrangements and watched every reflection in the glass. One of the men near the bar lifted a phone. Security moved before I had to speak. He lowered it. Claire did not turn. That was the second clean blade. Visibility without surrender. Part 5. Friday morning arrived with fog over the cliffs. At 11 o'clock, Claire sat in the executive boardroom with her final packet open in front of her. She had written 3 headings on a legal pad. Facts, risk, action. No apology, no panic. Marcus appeared on the screen from a city office with an expensive painting behind him and a face arranged into concern. Claire's handling of this week's crisis has been reactive and damaging, he said. The board must consider whether her continued leadership exposes the firm to further instability. Claire took one note. Just one. Then she looked up. Before the board votes on Mr. Vale's motion, counsel will present the timeline of document alteration, unauthorized press distribution, and attempted market manipulation. Marcus smiled, deflection. Counsel did not smile. The next 40 minutes unfolded like a door closing. Auditors confirmed the full packet predated the leak. The server administrator confirmed the altered document had been exported from an executive access terminal. Communications confirmed Vance's contact with Marcus's office. Legal confirmed the attempted disruption had been logged. Then Claire spoke. She did not attack Marcus. She did not need to. She placed the complete packet on the document camera and walked the board through the actual plan. Retain domestic teams, consolidate 2 redundant vendor contracts, delay offshore automation, protect long-term development capacity, and cut executive discretionary spending before touching core staff. By the time she finished, the room had changed. Sterling, one of the older board members, leaned toward his camera. Mr. Vale, did your office provide Mr. Vance with access to the incomplete packet? Marcus's expression flickered. Only once. But everyone saw it. I will not answer a defamatory question without counsel. Claire capped her pen. That was the moment the vote ended, even before it formally began. The board did not remove Claire. They suspended Marcus pending review, postponed the motion, approved an investigation, and adopted Claire's emergency communications protocol. When the final screen went dark, Claire closed the legal pad. Facts, risk, action. All 3 headings were covered in check marks. I stood by the back door, where I had been the entire time, and waited. She looked at me, lifted the legal pad slightly, and I nodded. Work completed. At 5 o'clock, Claire walked into the main lobby. The lobby, she wore a white blazer, a leather work bag in one hand, and the expression of someone leaving by choice. I stepped out from behind the desk. Ms. Morgan, I said, professional mask in place. I trust the final billing was handled properly. It was perfect. Thank you, Nathan, for everything. I'll have the valet bring your car around. I reached for my radio. Wait. Her voice was clear enough for Elena at the concierge desk to glance over. Claire did not step into my space. She opened her leather folder and removed a single page. My legal team will route this through procurement, she said. No favors, no blurred lines. If the terms are clean and you want the work, I'd like you to submit a proposal. I looked at the page. Formal request for security and executive travel logistics consultation. Scope, boundaries, review process, conflict of interest clause. Clean, practical, public. You want the resort to consult for Morgan Systems? I asked. I want you to design the protocols, she said. Secure travel, press exposure, executive movement, communications handling. You run systems better than anyone I've ever met. I run a hotel. You run pressure until it becomes order. Claire's eyes stayed on mine. This is not a thank you gift, she said. It is not a shortcut. It is work. You can refuse. I looked past her toward the pool terrace beyond the lobby glass. The limestone glare had softened under fog. The ice in a guest's glass clicked at the bar. The ocean sounded calmer than it had all week. The same place where Marcus had tried to frame her as fleeing now watched her stand in the open and choose her next step. I took the page. I'll review the scope and send a formal proposal by Tuesday. Her smile came slowly. Tuesday works, and coffee after the proposal meeting? Public lobby. I said, daylight, no emergency. Exactly. The valet brought her car around a few minutes later. Claire walked through the front doors, shoulders straight, work bag in hand, no escort needed. Before getting into the car, she turned back once, just making sure I understood that the door had not closed. I lifted the proposal page once. She nodded, got into the car, and left. 2 weeks later, Morgan Systems formally retained the resort's executive logistics division. Marcus disappeared from public view after the investigation began. Vance posted one bitter article about corporate image control, which no one important shared. The ridge overlook returned to tourists taking sunset photos. On Claire's third scheduled visit, I found her near the shaded walkway where Vance had stood that first day. She carried a slim portfolio and looked across the water toward the ridge. Do you want privacy? I asked. No. She kept her gaze on the overlook. I wanted to see it without running. The ridge was quiet. A family leaned on the rail. A man took pictures of the coastline. No long lenses, no ambush. No manufactured narrative waiting to harden around her. Done? I asked. She nodded. Done. We walked back into the lobby together, professional distance with something warmer inside it. At the cafe table by the window, 2 cups waited because Elena had become unbearable. Claire saw them and laughed. Your sister is managing us. She manages everyone. Should we resist? It would be inefficient. We sat. This time, the coffee was better. I looked toward the pool deck, where sunlight flashed against limestone exactly as harshly as it had the day everything started. The glare no longer looked like exposure. It looked like weather. Claire followed my gaze. Still watching reflections, she asked. Yes. Still counting exits? Yes. Still carrying solutions? I looked back at her. Trying to... She placed a folder on the table. Good. I have another problem. I opened it. Not a crisis, not an ambush. A travel plan for her next quarterly leadership summit. 3 cities, 2 investor meetings, 1 manufacturing site visit, clear objectives, reasonable risks, space for preventive logistics. I took out my pen. The first day, she had needed a room where cameras could not turn fear into a story. Now she was building routes through the world without asking fear for permission. And I, for once, was not standing behind a desk waiting for someone to leave. I was sitting in daylight, across from a woman who had chosen her terms, with clean paperwork between us and the ocean steady outside the glass. The end.